Chapter 1. The Girl Who Burned the Noodles. The morning streets of Seoul buzzed with an energy that felt alive, a cacophony of vendors shouting prices over the din of bustling crowds. The scent of sizzling street food wafted through the air, mingling with the sharp tang of exhaust fumes as scooters whizzed by, weaving through narrow alleys with reckless abandon. Steam billowed from food stalls, their glowing signboards flickering like fireflies against the gray skyline, while exhausted office workers trudged past, their faces drawn in anticipation of another long day ahead. Yet amidst this vibrant chaos, a single voice pierced through the noise, a scream that echoed off the walls of the tiny noodle shop nestled between an old convenience store and a broken karaoke bar. "Lily, the noodles are on fire again!" Lily Carter stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest as thick, acrid smoke erupted from the kitchen. She felt the heat on her cheeks, tasted the bitterness of panic rising in the back of her throat. "Oh no," she murmured, eyes widening as the pot boiled over violently, a dark, bubbling chaos spilling onto the stove. Customers began to cough, their eyes watering in the smoky air. A little boy pointed dramatically, his face a mask of innocence. "Mom, the kitchen lady is trying to kill us." "I am not," Lily yelled, flailing a towel at the smoke like a warrior wielding a flag of surrender. But her efforts only fanned the flames, the fire licking higher as chaos consumed the small restaurant. A middle-aged man clutched his bowl protectively, as if it were his last meal, while an old woman yelled, "I waited 40 minutes to die by noodles?" Meanwhile, Lily's best friend, Mia Carter, sat in the corner with a serene expression, methodically devouring dumplings. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "most chefs cook food before cremating it." Lily shot her a glare. "You're supposed to help me." "I am helping emotionally. You're eating. I need strength to survive your cooking." Just then, Lily's father stormed out of the kitchen, a metal ladle gripped tightly in his hand like a sword. Within moments, he had turned off the gas, rescued the noodles from their fiery fate, and restored order as if he were a general returning to a battlefield. The restaurant gradually calmed, but the tension hung thick in the air. Lily stood amidst the smoke, soot smudged across her cheeks, feeling the weight of her father's disappointed gaze. "You burned water yesterday," he stated flatly. Lily crossed her arms defensively, heat rising to her face. "That pot was suspicious. You cannot fight kitchen equipment every morning." Mia nearly choked on her dumplings from laughter. Despite the chaos, the Carter noodle shop radiated warmth. Its faded walls whispered stories of countless meals shared, mismatched chairs added character rather than detracted from it, and a ceiling fan creaked ominously but provided a comforting breeze. People returned, day after day, drawn by the shop's vibrant life, and Lily was the heartbeat of that life. She remembered regular customers' orders, offered free dumplings to tired students, and once chased a thief down 3 streets, wielding nothing but a frying pan. After the lunch rush finally subsided, Lily flopped dramatically into a chair, the weight of the morning settling on her shoulders. "I'm exhausted," she groaned. "You cooked for 11 minutes, her father replied, raising an eyebrow. It was an emotional 11 minutes. Mia gasped suddenly, her eyes glued to her phone. "Oh my God." Lily raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What now?" Mia thrust the screen into her face, revealing a massive headline. "Beaumont Group to announce official Heiress this week." A glamorous photo of the wealthy Beaumont family filled the screen, crystal chandeliers glimmering in the background, designer clothing draping over perfect smiles. And there, in the center, was Vanessa Beaumont, the nation's famous rich heiress. Beautiful, elegant, untouchable. Mia sighed dramatically, eyes full of envy. Look at her life. Rich family, luxury cars, private vacations. Meanwhile, you nearly lost a fight against noodles. Rolling her eyes, Lily dismissed the thought. "Sure, you say that because your bank account has $12. $12 and emotional stability. You cried because a customer insulted your apron. He called it ugly, because it is ugly." Lily glanced at the article again, feeling the gulf between her world and that of the Beaumonts. People like Vanessa Beaumont inhabited magazine covers and luxury billboards. People like Lily existed beside boiling soup and unpaid gas bills. The two worlds seemed destined to remain apart, or so Lily believed. Elsewhere, inside the opulent Beaumont mansion, a glass shattered. Vanessa Beaumont stood trembling beside a grand piano, the air thick with tension as her mother, Madame Beaumont, studied a document in silence. "What do you mean the DNA test is inconclusive?" Vanessa's voice wavered, the color draining from her face. The family lawyer adjusted his glasses, his voice a whisper of dread. "There appears to have been a hospital error 20 years ago." Madame Beaumont's gaze lifted, cold and controlled. "Find the other girl." Meanwhile, unaware of the storm brewing in the Beaumont mansion, Lily sped through the city on her trusty old scooter, delivering food orders. Rain began to fall, the droplets glistening in the glow of neon lights as they reflected off the slick pavement. Lily hummed to herself, a content smile on her face, until, screech! A black luxury car nearly collided with her. With a jolt, she slammed the brakes, her heart racing. "What the?" she exclaimed, stumbling off the scooter in a fury. The expensive car door opened slowly, and out stepped the most handsome man she had ever seen. Tall, clad in a sharp black suit, his expression cold, yet intriguing, the kind of face that looked like it belonged on a magazine cover. Alexander Reed, the future CEO of Reed Holdings, stood before her, the man every business magazine heralded as untouchable. Unfortunately, Lily had absolutely no idea who he was. Pointing a finger at him, she couldn't contain her irritation. "Rich people really think traffic laws are optional, huh?" His eyes widened slightly, taken aback. "Ever. Miss, do you realize who?" his assistant began, but Lily cut him off. "I realize his driving sucks." Alexander studied the fiery girl in the rain, her cheap yellow raincoat splattered with sauce, her cracked helmet perched atop her messy hair. And yet she glared at him, indignation radiating off her like a storm. Interesting. He calmly looked at the damaged scooter. "How much?" Lily narrowed her eyes, suspicion flaring. "What? The repair cost? You think money solves everything?" "Yes." "That's toxic." His assistant looked like he might faint from the growing tension. Alexander reached into his pocket, handed her a business card, and said, "Send the bill." Lily glanced at it, then froze. Reed Holdings, one of the richest corporations in the country. Suddenly her guard was up. "Wait, are you a gangster?" The assistant choked again, eyes wide with disbelief. Alexander stared at her for 3 long seconds before, surprisingly, he laughed. A short, genuine laugh that seemed to brighten the dreary day. Everyone around them looked horrified, because Alexander Reed never laughed. "See, rich people are crazy," Lily declared, pointing at him. Before he could respond, her food delivery app beeped insistently. "Ah, the customer!" With a panicked leap, she scrambled back onto her scooter. "You're lucky I have employment responsibilities." And just like that, she darted off into the rainy night, leaving Alexander standing there, oddly amused. For the first time in months, something felt interesting. Later that night, inside the Beaumont mansion, the family investigator placed a photograph on the table. Madame Beaumont stared at the image, her icy demeanor faltering. A girl was laughing outside a tiny noodle shop, a messy ponytail framing a bright, innocent smile. Utterly ordinary. The investigator spoke cautiously. "We found her." Vanessa looked at the photo and felt fear for the very first time in her life. Because somehow, the girl in the picture had the exact same eyes as Madame Beaumont. Far away, across the city, Lily sneezed while eating instant noodles in bed, completely unaware that her peaceful, chaotic little life was about to change forever. Chapter 2. Welcome to the Rich Family Circus. The next morning dawned with an unexpected ruckus, the kind that rips through the fabric of silence like a knife through butter. Lily Carter woke up to chaos, not the emotional kind, but the kind that rattles doors and stirs the heart. Something heavy pounded against her bedroom door, a thunderous call to arms, wrapped in urgency. "Lily, wake up! The gas delivery man is fighting with your father again." Lily cracked open an eye, the sunlight cutting sharply through the curtains. "Tell them I died." Mia's voice echoed from outside, firm, if not a little exasperated. "I already tried that. They asked when your funeral payment is due." With a groan that could rival a dramatic stage actress, Lily flopped out of bed, landing face first onto the floor. 5 minutes later, she emerged from her room, clad in oversized pajamas adorned with tiny strawberries, her hair a disheveled mess of rebellion. Inside the noodle shop that morning, the air crackled with an intensity that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. Her father, a tempestuous force, argued loudly with a gas supplier, his voice a mix of frustration and desperation. Nearby, a customer was berating a server for cold dumplings, while a small child attempted to wield a bottle of soy sauce like a weapon, creating a sticky battlefield on the floor. In the corner, Mia sat, her smartphone at the ready, filming the pandemonium with a gleeful grin. "This feels historically important," Mia remarked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Lily rubbed her forehead, trying to dispel the impending headache. "This restaurant is cursed." "No," her father barked, his voice a thunderclap. "This restaurant has you." After surviving the breakfast rush, Lily finally escaped to the cool embrace of the outside air, trash bags in hand. The morning breeze was a refreshing balm against the chaos she had just endured. For a fleeting moment, the world felt normal again. But as she stood outside, 3 black luxury cars screeched to a halt in front of the noodle shop, shattering her brief respite. She blinked, her heart racing. Neighbors materialized like ghosts, peering through curtains, while old women seemed to appear from nowhere, ready to gossip at the first sign of drama. The car doors opened in unison. Men in sharp suits stepped out, their movements so synchronized they could have been a well-rehearsed dance troupe. The alley transformed into a scene straight out of a mafia movie. Lily whispered, a mix of humor and terror lacing her words. "Did someone finally die from my noodles?" One of the suited men approached her, his demeanor respectful yet imposing. "Miss Lily Carter?" She pointed at herself, eyebrows raised in suspicion. "Depends who's asking." "We've come on behalf of the Beaumont family." A heavy silence fell over the alley. Even the pigeons nearby seemed to halt in their cooing to listen. Mia nearly dropped her phone, her eyes wide. The Beaumont family? In seconds, every nose within 50 meters found a reason to peek outside, drawn by the scent of unfolding drama. Lily frowned, her mind racing. Why would rich people want me? The man handed her a business card, his expression unreadable. "We request your presence at the Beaumont estate immediately." Lily's gaze darted between the man and the gleaming cars, her heart pounding louder than ever. "Is this a kidnapping?" "No, miss." "Human trafficking?" "No." "Secret cult?" "Also no." Mia grabbed Lily's arm, her grip fierce. "Go with them. What if they harvest my organs?" Mia eyed the luxury cars again, her voice a blend of practicality and sarcasm. "With this level of money, they can afford better organs." "That's not comforting." An hour later, Lily stood at the threshold of the most ostentatious house she had ever seen. No, house was a gross understatement. The Beaumont mansion was a palace, a sprawling monument to wealth that seemed allergic to the concept of moderation. Massive marble staircases twisted beneath crystal chandeliers, and paintings larger than her entire bedroom adorned the walls. Fresh flowers filled every nook, and even the air smelled rich, as if money itself had a scent. As she stepped gingerly across the polished floor, she felt an overwhelming sensation wash over her. "I'm too poor to breathe here." Mia, ever the pragmatist, whispered urgently beside her. "Act elegant." Immediately, Lily straightened her posture, adopting an awkward gait. "Why are you moving like a sick flamingo?" Mia asked, her tone half amused, half concerned. "I'm trying to look rich. Possessed is more like it." Before they could continue their banter, a servant approached, holding a silver tray with tiny refreshments that looked more like morsels than food. "Would you like refreshments?" the servant inquired. Lily stared at the miniature snacks in disbelief. "So small. These are appetizers. Are rich people starving voluntarily?" Mia wanted to disappear at that moment. Meanwhile, upstairs, Vanessa Beaumont watched the security camera footage with a pale set of lips. Her heart racing at every second, Lily remained inside the mansion. For the first time in 20 years, she saw someone who mirrored the Beaumont family more than she did. Same eyes, same smile. Even Grandpa Beaumont nearly choked on his tea upon seeing Lily. "That girl looks exactly like my daughter when she was young," he whispered, astonished. Vanessa clenched her fists, a storm brewing within her. Fear twisted into anger. She had spent 2 decades cultivating the perfect life, and now this noodle shop girl might snatch it all away? Impossible. Downstairs, Lily wandered away from Mia, her curiosity piqued. Every room was larger than her entire apartment, and as she brushed her fingers against a golden decoration, she couldn't help but wonder. Is this real gold? Yes, the servant replied, and Lily snatched her hand back as if she had committed a crime. Rich people are terrifying. She collided with a solid form, strong hands catching her before she could fall. She looked up, her heart leaping into her throat. It was Alexander Reed, the man she had dubbed the gangster CEO from her chaotic encounter the day before. Today he wore a perfectly tailored suit, looking every bit the part of a powerful man. "Duck raincoat girl, gangster CEO," she gasped, her surprise evident. Alexander's eyebrow twitched slightly. "I'm not a gangster." "That's exactly what gangsters say." For a moment, silence enveloped them, the tension palpable. Then, noticing Lily's pockets bulging suspiciously, he asked, "Are those cream puffs?" She clutched her pockets defensively. They were emotionally abandoned. His eyes sparkled with amusement, eliciting a quiet laugh that startled the nearby servants. One whispered, "Did Mr. Reed just smile?" "You laugh weirdly for a rich person," Lily pointed out. "You speak recklessly for someone unemployed." "I have a job. Burning noodles isn't employment." That attack was unnecessary. Before their playful feud could escalate, Madame Beaumont entered the hallway, her presence instantly altering the atmosphere. She radiated elegance and cold authority, and Lily straightened awkwardly under her scrutinizing gaze. After a long, tense silence, Madame Beaumont finally spoke. "Sit down, Miss Carter." Inside the grand living room, the atmosphere thickened as everyone gathered. Vanessa sat poised beside Grandpa Beaumont, while Alexander leaned against the window with an air of casual ease. Lily felt woefully underdressed, particularly when she caught sight of the soy sauce stains on her sleeve. 20 years ago, there was an incident at the hospital where my daughter gave birth, Madame Beaumont began, her voice steady. Lily blinked slowly, confusion knitting her brows. "Okay? A recent DNA investigation suggests you may be biologically related to the Beaumont family." The room fell silent, a heavy hush settling like a storm cloud. Lily stared blankly, her mind racing. Mia gasped so loudly that someone dropped a teacup, while Vanessa's expression hardened. Alexander watched with keen interest. Instead of the expected reaction of tears or disbelief, Lily raised her hand, her voice earnest. "Does this mean I'm rich?" Grandpa Beaumont burst into laughter, his joy infectious yet bewildering. Alexander turned away to hide a smile, while even some servants struggled to stifle their amusement. Only Vanessa remained rigid, the color draining from her face. Madame Beaumont sighed, her patience wearing thin. "This is not a joke." Lily looked overwhelmed, trying to piece together this new reality. "No, I'm serious, because yesterday I had $12, and today people are offering me tiny, expensive sandwiches. This feels illegal." The family lawyer placed official DNA documents onto the table, the weight of the truth settling heavily in the air. "There is a 99.98% probability that Miss Lily Carter is the biological granddaughter of the Beaumont family." Lily's cheerful demeanor slowly faded as reality sank in. Everything was shifting around her, too quickly, too suddenly. Her small apartment, the noodle shop, her normal life, would it all disappear now? With a quiet voice she finally asked, "What happens next?" Madame Beaumont answered calmly, "You will stay here temporarily while we complete the investigation process." Vanessa's face lost all color. "What?" Grandpa Beaumont beamed. "Yes, excellent idea." Ignoring Vanessa's protests, Lily panicked. "Wait, in this house? With all the gold furniture?" "Yes." "No." "Yes. I can't live here. I'll accidentally break something worth more than my future." Finally, Alexander spoke up, his tone surprisingly calm. "That concern is reasonable." "Thank you," Lily pointed at him, relieved. But then he added, "But statistically, you already broke the peace of this household within 10 minutes. Grandpa Beaumont's laughter filled the room, while Vanessa glared at them all with a smoldering intensity. And Lily, with her heart racing and her future hanging in balance, remained blissfully unaware that her entire life was about to spiral into delightful chaos. In the grand expanse of the Beaumont mansion, where marble floors gleamed like polished glass and chandeliers hung like clusters of stars, Lily found herself hopelessly lost. The mansion had 23 bedrooms, 7 living rooms, and even 2 indoor gardens, but none of that mattered at the moment. She shuffled through yet another seemingly endless hallway, her heart racing. "This place is stupidly large," she whispered to herself. the echoes of her voice swallowed by the opulence surrounding her. With every turn, Lily stumbled into rooms filled with dust-covered antiques and forgotten memories. She had already opened a storage room twice, startled a servant while he carried a tray of wine, and had even bowed respectfully to a statue she mistook for a real person. Behind her, her friend Mia trailed, nibbling on stolen macarons, each bite punctuating her words. "You need confidence," she chirped, her mouth full of sweet indulgence. "I need a map," Lily retorted, exasperation creeping into her tone. "You're thinking too negatively," Mia replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I just apologized to a flower vase." "That vase looked judgmental," Mia laughed, and for a moment, the absurdity of their situation lightened Lily's heart. Meanwhile, in a lavishly decorated bedroom, Vanessa Beaumont sat in silence, the weight of her existence pressing heavily on her chest. Her fingers trembled as she examined a photograph of Lily from the investigation report, a random girl from a noodle shop threatening to unravel her world with a single DNA test. For 20 years, Vanessa had been the cherished daughter of the Beaumont family, immersed in a life of elite schooling, luxury vacations, and designer brands. Yet beneath the surface, a gnawing fear had taken root in her heart, the fear of being unloved, of not truly belonging. As a knock interrupted her thoughts, Madame Beaumont entered, her elegance striking against the chaos brewing within Vanessa. "You embarrassed yourself earlier," she stated coldly, her voice slicing through the tension like a knife. Vanessa felt her throat tighten as her aunt continued. "That girl may be the Beaumont blood heir." The revelation hit Vanessa like a thunderclap, igniting a slow burn of resentment and jealousy. "So, after raising me for 20 years, you're abandoning me now," she spat, her fists clenched tight enough to hurt. The hint of softness in Madame Beaumont's expression was like salt in a wound. "You are still family," she replied softly, but the words felt hollow. Vanessa bowed her head, a seed of hatred quietly taking root in her heart. Elsewhere in the mansion, Lily discovered the indoor elevator and treated it like an amusement park ride, her laughter ringing out as she pressed buttons indiscriminately. "Look, it moves sideways too," she exclaimed, her voice bubbling with excitement. The elevator door opened, and she stepped into a private lounge filled with elegantly dressed older women sipping tea. When their eyes fell upon her, the room fell silent, tension thickening the air. One of the women, removing her sunglasses, smiled in a way that sent a chill down Lily's spine. "You must be the other girl," she said, each word laced with condescension. Lily smiled brightly, undeterred. "I sound like a horror movie," she quipped, and the women laughed, though their laughter was anything but kind. They volleyed back insults cloaked in polite inquiry, but Lily's spirit remained unbroken. "It's okay. I also think rich people live strangely. Your house has 7 sofas in one room. How many bottoms do you expect?" Mia nearly collapsed from suppressing her laughter, while the older women stared in disbelief. At that moment, Alexander Reed entered the lounge, and the atmosphere shifted. Elegance was replaced by fervent smiles, as if a king had arrived. As he approached, he caught sight of Lily stuffing pastries into her bag. "Why are you stealing pastries again?" he asked, with a teasing glint in his eye. "They're miniature. Small food makes me emotionally aggressive," she shot back defensively, causing Alexander to chuckle, a rare sound that made one of the women swoon. But not everyone found Lily charming. From the hallway, Vanessa watched the scene unfold, her heart constricted with jealousy as laughter erupted around Lily. The growing resentment twisted inside her, and an idea formed. If Lily embarrassed herself badly enough, perhaps the family would reconsider their affection for her. That evening, the Beaumont mansion transformed into a realm of glimmering chandeliers and hushed whispers as the elite gathered for a charity dinner. Politicians, CEOs, and socialites graced the event, but for Lily, it was a terrifying introduction to upper society. 3 stylists fussed around her, transforming her chaotic energy into an elegant visage. When she finally emerged in a pale gold dress, even the stylists paused, taken aback by her natural beauty. As she entered the ballroom, whispers rose like a murmur of wind. "That's the rumored real heiress? She looks exactly like the Beaumont family." With each word, Vanessa's rage deepened, suffocating her beneath the weight of inadequacy. Across the room, Alexander's gaze locked onto Lily, a smile creeping onto his face as he approached her. "You clean up surprisingly well," he said, and she quipped back, her defenses raised. But before she could respond, fate conspired against her. Lily stepped on her own dress, and the world slowed as she stumbled forward, champagne flying in all directions, a symphony of gasps accompanying her fall into Alexander's waiting arms. Silence enveloped the ballroom, creating a fragile moment, suspended in time. Lily met his gaze, her heart racing. "I think your rich party exploded," she managed to say. And somewhere in the crowd, Grandpa Beaumont laughed so hard, he nearly toppled over. In the shadows, Vanessa watched with fury purling behind a strained smile, her mind racing with thoughts of how to reclaim her place in a world that suddenly seemed to favor the girl who came from nothing. Chapter 4. The most expensive humiliation in Seoul. As the last notes of the violin faded into the tense air of the opulent ballroom, a thick silence engulfed the room. For 3 agonizing seconds time hung suspended, pregnant with the collective gasp of the elite guests who had just witnessed a disaster unfold. Champagne spilling like liquid gold onto the tailored suit of Alexander Reed, the man known for his unyielding demeanor and ruthless business strategies. Lily Carter stood frozen in his embrace, her heart thundering in her chest as the golden bubbles trickled down his expensive black fabric, leaving a trail of impending doom. The crystal glasses shivered on their tables, and the violinist cast a mournful glance, a living embodiment of the emotional wreckage that followed. The air crackled with tension, every eye in the room was glued to the spectacle. Alexander Reed, a titan of industry and a man who despised unexpected physical contact, stood motionless, caught between indignation and the absurdity of his situation. Lily, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment, finally dared to break the silence. "Am I fired from rich society already?" A few guests stifled their laughter, a chorus of muffled snorts and gasps echoing through the gilded walls. Alexander's gaze shifted from the expanding champagne stain to Lily, then back again, his expression unreadable. The silence deepened, thickening the atmosphere to an almost suffocating degree. A hapless waiter hovered nearby, his face pale as he contemplated his own fate amidst this social catastrophe. With a deep breath, Lily whispered, "If it helps, the champagne smells expensive." The comment hung in the air like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters, and soon the tension began to crack, laughter bubbling forth from the crowd. To everyone's surprise, Alexander closed his eyes as if he were grappling with his very existence, then calmly removed his suit jacket and handed it to an assistant. "It's fine," he said, the words rolling off his tongue like a spell that lifted the suffocating weight of the moment. The ballroom collectively inhaled as if emerging from an underwater abyss. Did he just say it was fine? The concept felt revolutionary. After all, Alexander was a man defined by control and chaos. Lily blinked, processing this unexpected turn. "You're not angry?" "You fell." "Yes, but dramatically." That part was obvious. In an unprecedented act of gentleness, Alexander steadied Lily, ensuring she wouldn't trip again on her lavish dress. A ripple of whispers cascaded through the room. Alexander, the stoic enigma, was treating her with an unexpected tenderness. Even Vanessa, poised and meticulously composed, felt the edges of her palms dig into her skin as she clenched her fists in disbelief. This chaotic girl, who had just doused him in champagne, had somehow captured his attention, a feat most could only dream of. Meanwhile, laughter erupted from Grandpa Beaumont, who found the entire scene utterly delightful. "I like her," he announced, his voice booming across the marble floors and crystal chandeliers. Madame Beaumont, beside him, sighed heavily, her expression exuding the weariness of too many charity galas. "This is a charity gala, not a circus." "But she brought life into this boring event," Grandpa exclaimed, and several wealthy guests, secretly entertained, nodded in agreement. Lily was a breath of fresh air amidst the stuffy elegance, looking like someone who might ignite a kitchen fire during a royal wedding. A delightful chaos. Desperate to escape the humiliating spotlight, Lily maneuvered towards the buffet, mumbling, "This dress is dangerous," as she slipped off her high heels beneath the table. Mia appeared beside her, a plate of shrimp clutched in her hand, her excitement palpable. "You're trending online," she beamed, thrusting her phone forward. Footage of the champagne incident had gone viral, and Lily's heart sank as she read the comments flooding in. "Who is that girl? Alexander Reed didn't kill someone for once, and why is she weirdly adorable? Oh no, my social death is public," she groaned. "No," Mia corrected, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "You're becoming famous." "That's worse," Lily lamented, her mind racing as she thought of the implications. Across the room, Vanessa finally approached the infamous Alexander, her smile poised yet strained. "I'm fine," he replied, sipping a fresh drink. Vanessa's gaze flickered toward Lily, who was currently stuffing mini desserts into a napkin, and her heart twisted. That girl is embarrassing the Beaumont family. Alexander's eyes landed on Lily, who was now a whirlwind of charm and chaos. "She's entertaining," he said simply, and the word struck Vanessa like a dagger. She had spent years perfecting her elegance, yet it seemed in mere days Lily had become a source of genuine interest for him. As the evening wore on, Lily found herself facing another confrontation, this time with the hungry eyes of reporters. A brash woman wielding a microphone blocked her path. "Miss Carter, is it true you grew up in poverty?" Lily blinked in surprise. "That feels aggressive." "Are you intimidated by high society?" "Yes," the reporter stumbled, momentarily thrown off guard. Lily's honesty sparked a soft laughter among nearby guests. "Rich forks have too many branches," she quipped, and the crowd chuckled again. Another reporter pressed, "Do you feel inferior compared to Vanessa Beaumont?" "Why would I?" Lily answered, her sincerity disarming. "She's beautiful and elegant. I'm loud and emotionally attached to noodles. We're different people." The unexpected grace of her response floated through the air like a gentle breeze, softening the hardened hearts around her. An older journalist exchanged a knowing glance with a fellow reporter, intrigued by this bold girl, unafraid of the world of wealth. Meanwhile, upstairs, Vanessa entered Lily's temporary bedroom, irritation burning in her chest. The beautiful items meant for Lily stung like salt in an open wound. The luxuries that should have been hers, now shared with this newcomer. Her eyes landed on an expensive diamond necklace, nestled inside a velvet box, and a dangerous thought began to take shape in her mind. Downstairs the gala continued, the music flowing like liquid silk. To Lily's horror, Madame Beaumont tapped her glass, commanding attention. "It is time to formally introduce Miss Lily Carter." Panic washed over Lily, as she realized hundreds of eyes were now upon her. "Oh no," she squeaked. "I don't know how to walk richly." "Just walk straight," Mia urged, shoving her forward. With her heart racing, Lily approached the grand staircase, cameras flashing like a storm of stars. Madame Beaumont's voice echoed through the hush. "Though the investigation remains ongoing, Miss Lily Carter is officially recognized as a member of the Beaumont family." Applause rippled through the crowd, yet Lily stood awkwardly, feeling like an outsider in a world that felt foreign. Just as the servant prepared to reveal the family's gift, the unthinkable happened. The diamond necklace was missing. A hush fell over the ballroom, the tension palpable. Madame Beaumont's expression shifted to one of disbelief, and Vanessa feigned horror. How could this happen? Then, another servant stepped forward, trembling, holding in his hands the missing necklace, found inside Lily's handbag. The whispers erupted, and Lily's world shattered as she stood frozen, disbelief washing over her. "What?" she stammered, feeling the weight of the accusation crush her. "Lily, you stole it?" Vanessa's voice sliced through the air like a knife, and the crowd gasped as the cameras captured her incredulity. Lily looked down at the necklace, confusion flooding her mind. She had no idea how it had ended up in her bag, but it felt like her social life was spiraling into chaos, right before her eyes. The grand ballroom of the Beaumont mansion erupted into a cacophony of gasps and whispers, like a storm suddenly breaking upon a tranquil lake. The magnificent crystal chandeliers overhead cast a prismatic glow on the opulent decor, but the atmosphere shifted, heavy with tension. "She stole the necklace," a voice sliced through the din, igniting the crowd, while laughter and judgment danced like shadows across the polished marble floor. At the center of the chaos stood Lily Carter, her heart racing as the glint of the diamond necklace dangled precariously from her trembling fingers. The weight of 1,000 accusing eyes felt like a vice around her chest. She could feel the whispers curling around her like smoke, suffocating her. "I didn't steal it," she murmured, her voice barely rising above the tumult, but it drowned beneath the clamor of disbelieving gasps and excited reporters eager to feast on the drama. Vanessa, the picture of false concern, stepped forward, her gaze a dagger veiled in sweetness. "Lily, if you needed money, you could have asked the family." The words dripped with venom, and they struck Lily like a physical blow. A murmur spread through the crowd. Poor girl, greedy girl, gold digger. For the first time since her arrival, a chill crept into Lily's veins. Something felt terribly wrong. Madame Beaumont's glare could have cut glass as she scolded the gathering. This is disgraceful. Her husband, Grandpa Beaumont, frowned, his disapproval as palpable as the tension in the air. I don't believe she stole anything, he declared, but voices of dissent rose like a storm, challenging his authority. In the fray, Mia, Lily's fierce ally, exploded with indignation. Excuse me, she cried, her protective instincts flaring up as security had to restrain her from launching at the accusations. It's becoming emotionally illegal. Across the room, Alexander Reed stood apart, his silence louder than the noise around him. His sharp eyes surveyed the scene, absorbing every detail with a bewildering intensity. When they fell upon the necklace, something shifted. Lily, sensing the change, gazed down, her brow furrowing as she examined the clasp. This thing is broken, she announced, her voice cutting through the chatter. Silence wove its way through the ballroom as realization dawned on the guests. If I stole this and put it inside my bag, wouldn't the diamonds scratch everything? Her words, laced with logic, hung in the air, challenging the very foundation of the accusations. Yet just as the atmosphere began to thaw, a middle-aged reporter, emboldened by the tension, unleashed a cruel barb. Miss Carter, your father owns a failing noodle shop, correct? Perhaps desperation pushed your family toward theft. The words hit Lily like a slap, igniting a fire within her that she had kept buried beneath layers of hurt and shame. In a flash of fury, she swung her hand and connected with the reporter's cheek, the sound resonating like a gunshot in the silence. Gasps echoed, disbelief painted across every face. You can insult me, that's fine, but don't insult my father. The ballroom fell into a profound stillness, her words imbued with a raw power that demanded respect. Lily stood boldly, breathing heavily, every ounce of her being focused on the stunned reporter. My father worked 16 hours every day to raise me. He fed people even when we barely had enough ourselves. Each word was a declaration, echoing off the ornate walls, revealing the depth of her pride and the strength of her conviction. For the first time, the guests didn't see the poor noodle girl they had mocked, but a fierce woman, dignified beneath the glaring lights. Even Alexander, who had always shunned a spotlight, found himself captivated, drawn to the authenticity radiating from her. But just as the tension seemed to lift, Madame Beaumont swept onto the stage, her presence a stark reminder of authority. This scandal ends tonight, she commanded, silencing the room with her icy stare. The reporter's hopes of sensational headlines dissipated like mist in the dawn. As the night wore on, Lily returned the necklace to its box, her hands trembling not from fear, but from the adrenaline fading away. Mia enveloped her in a hug, her enthusiasm uncontained. Grandpa Beaumont approached, pride etched on his face. You remind me of my daughter, he said, his laughter infectious, easing the weight from Lily's heart. Then Alexander stepped towards her, a rare softness in his demeanor. In a world filled with pretense, he handed her a glass of water. You did well, he murmured, his voice a gentle balm to her frayed nerves. For the first time, someone believed her without question, and warmth spread through her, driving away the shadows of doubt. Yet in the background, Vanessa simmered in rage, her plans unraveling before her eyes. Lily was no longer the girl she could push around. She had become a beacon of resilience and strength, and Alexander was beginning to see it too. In that pivotal moment, amidst the chaos of the ballroom, Lily realized her power. Not only could she stand up for herself, but she could also inspire those around her, transforming the very narrative that sought to define her. In the heart of the Beaumont mansion, a tension thicker than the summer humidity hung in the air, palpable and suffocating. The grand halls, usually bustling with the laughter and clinking glasses of high society, now lay draped in a heavy silence. Even the servants, clad in their crisp uniforms, moved about like shadows, careful not to disturb the uneasy atmosphere that clung to the gilded walls like an approaching storm. At the center of this storm sat Lily Carter, cross-legged on the floor of her temporary bedroom. The elegant gold dress she had worn to the gala now looked crumpled and weary, much like its occupant. The rich fabric, once shimmering in the light, now seemed a mockery of her current state. Wrinkled and exhausted, just like her spirit. Her friend Mia paced the room, holding a disarray of snacks like a juggler showcasing his tricks. "I still can't believe you slapped a reporter," she exclaimed, her eyes wide, with a mixture of disbelief and admiration. Lily groaned into a pillow, her voice muffled, but unmistakably distressed. "Please stop reminding me." "You became a legend," Mia shot back, her excitement bubbling over. "You've got the internet buzzing." With a sigh, Lily lifted her head, her eyes clouded with regret. "I became unemployed from rich society," she countered, throwing in a dramatic flair. "You don't even work here," Mia replied, bemused. But just as the tension in the room began to lift, Mia gasped, her eyes glued to her phone screen. "Oh no." Lily's heart raced as she slowly lifted her head. "What now?" "You're trending again," Mia said, her voice almost reverent. Lily rolled her eyes, already anticipating the backlash. Why does the internet hate peace? Yet as Mia turned the phone for her to see, the videos flooding social media were not mocking Lily, rather they defended her. Comments scrolled rapidly, declaring her bravery and authenticity amidst a sea of criticism aimed at the elite guests at the gala. "People support me?" Lily murmured in disbelief. 1 million people support you," Mia confirmed, grinning. "That feels medically stressful," Lily replied, the anxiety curling in her stomach like a coiling snake. Meanwhile, several floors below, in the dim light of his private study, Alexander Reed grimly surveyed the chaos. The air was thick with unease as security footage flickered across multiple screens, replaying the necklace incident that had ignited the scandal. His assistant, Daniel, stood nervously nearby, beads of sweat forming on his brow. Alexander paused the footage abruptly, his icy gaze focused. "There," he said, pointing at the screen. Daniel leaned closer, his eyes widening. Vanessa had appeared next to Lily's handbag just before the ceremony, her hand disappearing for the briefest moment. "Miss Vanessa touched the bag," Daniel whispered, processing the implications. Alexander's demeanor remained cold as he replayed the footage, the image of Vanessa smiling too elegantly as she walked past Lily's chair, sending a chill down his spine. He leaned back, the realization settling in. Lily had been framed. "Should I inform the Beaumont family?" Daniel asked hesitantly. "No," Alexander replied, his voice steady yet contemplative. Exposing Vanessa would spell disaster for the Beaumont family, and he needed proof stronger than mere suspicion. Yet, a troubling thought lingered in his mind. At the gala, when Lily faced accusations, nobody had rushed to her side to defend her, except herself. It bothered him more than he cared to admit. Elsewhere in the mansion, Vanessa stood alone before her mirror, methodically removing her diamond earrings as her expression remained deceptively calm. Yet as she stared at her reflection, a tremor in her hands betrayed her resolve. The plan had been flawless, but with each failure, she felt herself slipping further away from victory. "What's so special about her?" she whispered bitterly to herself, wondering why the more she attacked Lily, the more sympathy Lily garnered. Just then, a knock interrupted her thoughts. Madame Beaumont entered, her presence as cold as ever. "The public reaction is becoming troublesome," she said, her voice slicing through the silence like a knife. Vanessa lowered her eyes, filled with helplessness. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "Sorry won't fix public opinion," Madame Beaumont replied, walking toward the window, her back to Vanessa. "Your emotions are becoming sloppy. Do not disappoint me again." With that she exited, leaving Vanessa frozen in disbelief. Tears welled in her eyes, not from regret over Lily, but from the realization that she was becoming replaceable. As tension simmered within the mansion, Lily found solace on the rooftop, craving the quiet away from the emotional turmoil of the wealthy elite. The night skyline of Seoul spread out before her, a tapestry of twinkling lights that seemed to pulse with life. Wrapped in a blanket, she sat at the edge, a cup of instant noodles and a bottle of banana milk at her side, contemplating her chaotic existence. "My life was simpler when my biggest problem was burning soup," she sighed dramatically, staring into the dark abyss of her thoughts. Suddenly, the rooftop door creaked open, and she nearly leaped from her spot, recognizing the figure that stepped outside. It was Alexander Reed, his presence both elegant and intimidating as he approached her, wearing a dark coat against the cool night air. "You stole food again," he remarked dryly, glancing at her noodle cup. "I borrowed emotionally," she shot back, unable to mask her surprise at his willingness to join her. As he settled beside her, an unexpected silence enveloped them, warm and comfortable, a stark contrast to the chaos below. Alexander broke it first, his voice unexpectedly gentle. You shouldn't read the online comments tonight. Lily poked her noodles, a soft laugh escaping her lips as she confessed. I already did. Some are nice, but some think I'm trash pretending to be rich. His calm demeanor didn't waver. Do you care? Of course I care. When people insult me, I can survive it. But when they insult my father, that hurts, she admitted, her voice trembling. In that moment, Alexander realized the depth of Lily's strength. She wasn't fearless. She simply chose to remain warm, despite the countless times she had been hurt. Quietly, he handed her a pair of chopsticks, and to her astonishment, he opened a second noodle cup without hesitation. You eat instant noodles? She questioned, her eyes wide with disbelief. I'm capable of basic survival, he replied matter-of-factly, taking a bite and grimacing. This is terrible. It's gourmet sadness cuisine, she defended, a smile creeping onto her face. To her surprise, he laughed, softly, unrestrained, and in that moment his expression shifted, revealing a warmth she had never seen before. As they shared the rooftop, the city lights twinkling below, something subtle yet profound began to change between them, an unspoken understanding that neither quite grasped yet, but both felt keenly. Inside the mansion, Vanessa stood by the hallway window, unable to sleep as her thoughts spiraled around her. Curiosity drew her gaze outside, and she froze, her heart racing as she spotted Alexander and Lily on the rooftop together. They were laughing, relaxed, and for the first time, Vanessa felt a cold grip of fear. She realized with dawning horror that Alexander had never stayed beside anyone he didn't care for. And in that moment, she truly understood the terrifying possibility of losing him too. As dawn broke over the Beaumont mansion, the sun's rays poured through the grand windows, casting intricate patterns on the marble floor. Lily Carter, still half asleep, and wrapped in oversized pajamas adorned with cartoon rabbits, shuffled down the opulent staircase. Her fluffy rabbit slippers barely made a sound against the polished tiles, but a palpable tension hung in the air, thick as fog. The dining room was a study in luxury, a sharp contrast to Lily's disheveled appearance. Fresh flowers bloomed like colorful whispers in the center of the table, while silver cutlery sparkled with an almost intimidating brilliance. Madame Beaumont was engrossed in financial reports that seemed to radiate stress, her brow furrowed, as if she single-handedly bore the weight of the family's fortune. Beside her, Vanessa sipped her tea with practiced elegance, her expression unreadable. Grandpa Beaumont nibbled on pastries, blissfully unaware of the brewing tension, and Alexander sat quietly, scrolling through his tablet with an air of calm detachment. But the moment Lily entered, all eyes turned to her. Servants exchanged nervous glances. A maid fumbled and dropped a spoon, clattering across the floor. Lily froze, the weight of their gazes suffocating her. Why is everyone staring at me like I committed tax fraud? She blurted, confusion lacing her voice. Silence ensued, thick and heavy, until Grandpa Beaumont broke it with a hearty laugh. Oh, child, you should check the internet. Her heart sank. That sentence never brings happiness. Just then, Mia burst into the room, phone in hand and panic in her eyes. You're viral. Lily felt her stomach drop as she closed her eyes slowly. I want to resign from society. You have 12 million views, Mia persisted, excitement spilling over as if it were a bubbly drink. That's too many people, Lily shouted. With a swift motion, Mia slammed the phone onto the table, unleashing a flood of videos that showcased Lily's every misstep at the gala. The slap that rang through the air, the accusation over the necklace, her impassioned defense of her father, and even her awkward escape from the rooftop. Comments cascaded across the screen, each more outrageous than the last. She's hilarious. Finally, a rich drama that feels real. I'd trust her with my wallet more than those rich aunties. Why is Alexander Reed smiling around her? Lily nearly choked on her orange juice. Wait, they noticed that? Her incredulous tone sparked Mia's indignation. The entire country noticed that. Across the table, Alexander sipped his coffee, seemingly unfazed by the chaos around him. This is your fault somehow, Lily accused, pointing a finger at him. That accusation lacks evidence, he replied coolly. As the day wore on, the internet's infatuation with Lily deepened. It wasn't her elegance or poise that drew people in. It was her unfiltered authenticity. Clips of her misadventures spread like wildfire, bowing to a robot vacuum, bickering with reporters, stuffing pastries into her purse, and nearly tumbling downstairs in heels. The public adored her humanity, and one comment echoed loudly through the digital realm. Everyone else acts rich. Lily acts human. But as Lily's popularity surged, Vanessa's calm exterior cracked. Each refresh of her feed felt like a stab, the malicious comments surrounding her growing colder. "Why does the fake heiress suddenly seem fake in personality too?" they taunted. For the first time she found herself being compared to Lily, and worse, losing. That afternoon, Madame Beaumont convened an emergency PR meeting, the atmosphere cold as the winter wind. Executives shuffled nervously, their faces pale, as they presented the online trends. "Public support currently favors Miss Lily," one manager stated cautiously. Madame Beaumont's frown deepened. "And Vanessa?" The room fell silent. The air thickened with unspoken words until someone finally replied. "Public opinion toward Miss Vanessa has become complicated." The word hung in the air, a polite euphemism for disaster. Meanwhile, Lily sat in a corner, munching on snacks, blissfully unaware of the business jargon flying around her. "You're not listening," Alexander noted, his voice breaking through her daze. "They started using finance words," she whispered back sheepishly. Suddenly, a photo flashed on the screen. Alexander and Lily, on the rooftop, sharing instant noodles under the city lights, their chemistry captured in that fleeting moment. The room fell silent, every gaze turning toward them. Lily choked on a cracker. "Who took that?" The headline soon followed. "Cold CEO finally smiles for mystery heiress. Alexander Reed in love? Rooftop ramen romance goes viral." Alexander read the headlines with a raised eyebrow, sipping his coffee as if none of it mattered. Feeling the weight of the room's scrutiny, Lily shouted, "Why are you so calm?" "Panicking won't erase the internet," he replied matter-of-factly. That sounded emotionally hopeless. "It's realistic." As the executives clamored excitedly over the potential marketing opportunities, Lily felt her heart race. "Pairing?" she echoed, incredulous. Her thoughts spun wildly. Grandpa Beaumont's eyes sparkled with mischief. Oh, this could be fun. Lily could hardly believe it. Later that evening she slipped away into the mansion garden, her mind racing, her heart heavy. The garden was a sanctuary, illuminated softly by twinkling lights, a stark contrast to the chaos of her life. "My life became a drama against my consent," she sighed. "You adapt quickly," a voice replied, startling her. Alexander stood there, coffee in hand, as if he had materialized from thin air. "Why do you appear everywhere like a rich ghost?" she quipped, accepting the cup he offered her. They walked together, an unexpected peace settling over them. As they strolled, Lily turned serious. "Why did you believe me yesterday?" "Because you're terrible at lying," he said, glancing at her, his voice steady. Her brows furrowed. That sounded insulting. It was partly insulting. "You really don't know how to speak kindly." "No." For some reason that blunt honesty left a strange pang in Lily's chest. She studied him beneath the garden lights, then smiled softly. "Good thing I talk enough for two people." In that moment, Alexander smiled, a small, genuine smile that felt dangerous and real. Little did they know, lurking behind the mansion curtains, Vanessa watched, her heart sinking. For the first time in her life, she realized she might lose far more than just her family name. At exactly 7 a.m. the next morning, the Beaumont mansion was alive with the crisp scent of polished wood and the delicate aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The dining hall, adorned with opulent chandeliers and fine china, felt more like a stage than a place to eat. Lily Carter, a girl from modest beginnings, stood at the center of this extravagant world, feeling both out of place and overwhelmed. She discovered that rich people trained for breakfast like it was military service, and the seriousness of the etiquette instructors surrounding her only amplified her anxiety. "Back straight," one instructor commanded, her eyes like steel. "Shoulders relaxed," another added, adjusting her posture with an air of authority. Lily frowned, gripping her fork like it was a weapon. "I haven't even eaten yet," she protested, her stomach growling in response. "One must learn elegance before breakfast," the chief instructor replied firmly, a sentence that felt evil to Lily. Across the table, Grandpa Beaumont chuckled softly into his newspaper, while Alexander Reed, the enigmatic boy who had caught her attention since her arrival, sipped his coffee with quiet intrigue. Vanessa, the picture of grace and sophistication, sat across from Lily, her every movement deliberate and refined. In contrast, Lily felt like a clumsy duckling among swans, her fork poised for battle against an innocent egg. The instructors continued their relentless training, correcting Lily's posture as if her very existence depended on it. "No, Miss Lily, you must hold it gently," they insisted, but Lily replied, "If I hold it any gentler, the egg wins." This elicited a muffled laugh from Alexander, a sound that stirred a mix of irritation and admiration within Vanessa. Unbeknownst to Lily, the day's suffering was only beginning. Madame Beaumont had arranged an official etiquette training session that promised to be emotionally torturous. Tea ceremonies, formal dining, walking posture, and greeting nobles, everything rich people considered necessary for survival. As Mia, her friend who had somehow received visitor permission again, walked beside her carrying snacks, Lily whispered dramatically, "This is emotional torture." "You're becoming cultured," Mia teased, but Lily shot back, "I'm becoming oppressed." The Etiquette Academy occupied an entire wing of the mansion, each room filled with painfully expensive decor, golden tea sets, imported silk decorations, and tiny desserts that could easily rival her monthly electricity bill. Inside the training room, elite young women, daughters of politicians and socialites, sat like perfect mannequins. As Lily entered, whispers fluttered around her like startled birds. "That's her, the noodle girl," one girl murmured, her voice dripping with condescension. Lily felt the weight of their stares, the heat of embarrassment creeping up her cheeks. Then Vanessa entered, and the atmosphere shifted as if she carried an invisible crown. Her polite smile and perfect posture commanded respect. The instructor beamed, proudly announcing, "Miss Vanessa has mastered etiquette since childhood." While Lily whispered to Mia, "She walks like expensive background music." The lesson began with tea pouring, which had seemed harmless until Lily learned that rich people turned it into mathematics. "Tea must be poured at precisely the correct angle," the instructor explained. Lily stared blankly, her mind racing. "You people measured beverage geometry?" The instructor ignored her discomfort, insisting, "Grace reflects upbringing." Lily felt personally attacked as one elegant socialite smirked, whispering, "Some habits are difficult to learn later in life." The laughter that followed stung, and Lily realized the truth. No matter how hard she tried, these people would always see her as inferior. When it was her turn to demonstrate, Lily was handed a delicate porcelain teapot. Every eye was on her, and she could feel the tension in the air. "This feels like a trap," she muttered, but the instructor urged her, "Simply pour tea. How hard can it be?" Those words cursed her. With a shaky hand, Lily lifted the teapot. 1 second, 2 seconds, everything seemed fine, then disaster struck. Her oversized practice robe caught on the teacup, flipping it over and soaking the table in tea. Panic surged through her. "I can fix this," she shouted, only to make matters worse. In her frantic attempt to clean, she launched a second cup into the air. A girl screamed, another nearly fell backward, and Lily stood frozen, the teapot in her hands like a criminal caught mid-escape. Silence enveloped the room until a familiar voice broke through. "Impressive destruction radius," Alexander said, leaning against the doorway, with a bemused expression, his eyes betraying a hint of amusement. Mia dramatically pointed. "She was set up." "I absolutely was not," Lily whispered urgently, but the laughter around her echoed painfully, deepening her humiliation. As the instructor paled, mentioning the tea set's 18th century origins, Lily felt her soul leave her body. How much damage had she done? When no one answered immediately, the fear became palpable. Vanessa, stepping forward in her poised manner, offered a thin smile. "It's all right. Accidents happen." But Lily could see the insincerity in her eyes, the way she only acted supportive when others were watching. The whispers returned, harsh and condescending, cutting deeper than any fork or teacup ever could. Lily looked down, feeling the sting of embarrassment, realizing for the first time since arriving at the mansion that she truly didn't belong. Alexander, noticing the change in her demeanor, approached the ruined table and lifted the broken cup. "Send the replacement invoice to Reed Holdings," he said calmly, leaving the room in stunned silence. As the lesson dragged on, Lily's disasters continued. Her attempts to walk with a book balanced on her head ended with her stumbling directly into Alexander once more. With the world watching, he caught her easily, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. Lily stared up at him, horrified. "Why do I keep falling into rich people?" Alexander simply replied, "Possibly gravity." The warmth of his hand at her waist sent an unexpected flutter through her. Just then, Vanessa observed from across the room, her jealousy twisting inside, realizing that Alexander had a softness around Louis that he never displayed with anyone else. Later that evening, Lily escaped to the mansion garden, carrying both emotional trauma and a stash of stolen cookies. She slumped beside the fountain, her thoughts swirling. I survived poverty for this? Alexander appeared beside her, his presence a calm in her storm. You caused approximately 6 million won in damage today, he noted, his tone light. Why are you everywhere? She exclaimed, exasperated. You hide poorly, he replied, his eyes holding hers. Rich people are terrifying, she confessed, her defenses crumbling. You're adapting, he remarked. I committed terrorism, she lamented. But Alexander's response surprised her. You don't need to become like them, he said, his voice steady. Lily blinked, the weight of his words sinking in. What? He continued. The others, the fake manners, the rehearsed personalities. You're fine as you are. For once, Lily had no witty comeback. Only the realization that she didn't have to change who she was to fit in. From the mansion balcony above, Grandpa Beaumont watched the two, a knowing smile on his face, while Vanessa stood beside him, her heart sinking as she realized she was not just competing for family affection anymore. In the opulent halls of the Beaumont mansion, where wealth wove itself into the very fabric of existence, Vanessa Beaumont had reigned as the unquestioned queen for 2 decades. Every chandelier hung like a diamond in a sea of silk, every hallway whispered secrets of grandeur, and every servant bowed with reverence as she glided by. Yet on this day, the air felt different, charged with an unfamiliar tension that clung to her like a heavy mist. As she stood in her lavish bedroom, the sun casting gentle rays through the elegant curtains, Vanessa faced her own reflection. Her makeup was flawless, her posture poised, and her expression a masterclass in serene perfection. Yet inside, a tempest brewed, gnawing at her core. It had begun subtly, like a whisper of discontent, but had grown loud enough to drown out the praise that once filled her ears. Outside her door, a murmur of voices stirred her attention, the mention of a name that had become her quiet tormentor. Lily. She's actually very kind, a servant noted, admiration threading through her words. I heard she apologized personally to the kitchen staff after the tea incident, another added, the warmth in her tones stinging Vanessa's pride. Mr. Reed smiled again today because of her. Those words struck Vanessa like an icy dagger. How could it be that after years of diligent effort to mold herself into the perfect woman for Alexander Reed, her heart still felt heavy with inadequacy? Elegant, intelligent, graceful, she had sculpted her identity to fit the mold of elite society, and yet here was Lily, messy hair, burned noodles, chaos personified, drawing smiles from the very man who had never looked at Vanessa with anything but polite indifference. Meanwhile, in the kitchen below, Lily Carter was engaged in a battle against a luxury automatic coffee machine, its 17 buttons taunting her with complexity. Rich people fear simplicity, her friend Mia remarked, casually munching on a piece of fruit. Lily pressed a button with trepidation, only for the machine to retaliate with a violent eruption of foam. A scream escaped her lips, and the servants nearby exchanged horrified glances, unable to comprehend how Lily could create such chaos so effortlessly. As Alexander entered the kitchen, the air thickened with anticipation. He surveyed the scene. Foam splattered across the counter, and then with a calm demeanor, pressed a single button, coaxing out perfect coffee. His interaction with Lily was effortless, natural. Their fingers brushed against each other as he handed her the cup, sparking an awareness between them that sent a shiver down Lily's spine. But unbeknownst to them, Vanessa stood just outside the kitchen doorway, watching, her heart a whirlwind of jealousy and despair. Alexander looked at Lily with ease, a version of himself she had never seen. Vanessa felt the weight of ugly jealousy settle into her chest, a poison that twisted her thoughts and threatened to consume her. That afternoon, the Beaumont mansion buzzed with the anticipation of a private luncheon for elite business families. Lily despised the idea of attending, but had no choice. Do I have to go? She lamented, her voice tinged with dread. The luncheon unfolded in the grand glass dining hall, filled with the scent of fresh roses and the clinking of crystal glasses. Vanessa basked in the warmth of compliments from society's elite, feeling a familiar calm wash over her. Yet when Lily entered the room, dressed simply yet radiantly, the atmosphere shifted palpably. Whispers of admiration floated through the air, and with each compliment directed at Lily, Vanessa felt her carefully constructed facade begin to crack. The comparisons stung her as she forced a smile, wishing to feel the warmth of her own worth instead of this icy ache of inadequacy. During lunch, conversations swirled around topics of business and politics, while Lily navigated the minefield of cutlery with clumsy grace. As the wealthy women continued their polite jests, Lily's honesty shone through. "Rich people have too many rules," she quipped, causing laughter to ripple across the table, a real heartfelt laughter that Vanessa could only watch from the sidelines, feeling increasingly invisible. Later, an elderly businesswoman remarked, "You remind me of young Madame Beaumont, warm-hearted, bright, alive." Each word was a dagger, revealing the truth Vanessa had buried deep within her. She was none of those things. She had become a shell of perfection, void of warmth, void of life. That evening, as rain lashed against the mansion walls, Vanessa's carefully curated life finally unraveled. The perfume bottles on her vanity met their demise in a violent crash, echoing the chaos within her. "I hate her," she whispered, the words escaping her lips as if they were the last remnants of her sanity. Lily, with her effortless warmth, had exposed Vanessa's fragility, and it was a truth too painful to bear. A soft knock interrupted her breakdown. Alexander stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "I know about the necklace," he stated coldly, and the temperature in the room dropped. Fear gripped Vanessa as she awaited her fate. But when he refused to expose her, relief flooded her. That relief, however, quickly morphed into a deeper wound when he turned back with quiet disappointment, stating, "You're making yourself miserable." As the door clicked shut behind him, Vanessa stood alone, the silence wrapping around her like a shroud. For the first time in years, her perfect mask had begun to crack, revealing the truth beneath. A young woman lost within her own gilded prison, and the chaos of her heart mirrored the storm raging outside. Chapter 10. The Secret Room. As the relentless rain hammered against the windows of the Beaumont mansion, the sound created a somber symphony that filled the vast, empty hallways. The intermittent flashes of lightning illuminated the mansion's grandeur, once a beacon of opulence, now an eerie silhouette against the dark sky. Inside its ornate walls, a heavy silence lingered, and no one within was able to find solace in sleep. Vanessa Beaumont lay awake in her darkened bedroom, her heart racing, and her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. After Alexander's confrontation about the necklace incident, an uncomfortable truth gnawed at her. He knew everything. The weight of his disappointment pierced through her like a jagged shard of glass, sharper than any humiliation she could have endured in public. She stared at her reflection in the dim light, searching for the perfection she had so meticulously crafted over the years. Perfection that had once drawn people to her like moths to a flame. But then Lily arrived, a force of nature, effortlessly dismantling Vanessa's carefully constructed facade. Lily was warmth incarnate, devoid of pretense or artifice, qualities that Vanessa both resented and envied in equal measure. It felt like watching someone dance through a storm, while she herself was paralyzed by fear of the raindrops. On the opposite side of the mansion, another restless soul stirred. Lily Carter was wide awake, but her worries were of a different nature. "I'm hungry," she groaned dramatically, tossing and turning in the oversized guest bed, her fluffy slippers slipping off her feet. Mia, her friend, mumbled from beneath the covers, "It's 3 a.m. "My emotions require noodles," Lily shot back, ignoring the sarcastic retort. "Your emotions require therapy," Mia muttered. Undeterred, Lily tiptoed out of the guest room clad in her pajamas, her heart racing with the thrill of adventure. The mansion transformed into a labyrinth of shadows, the grand hallways feeling colder, the portraits lining the walls gazing down with their haunting eyes. One statue made her shiver, its stone face seemingly watching her with malevolent intent. "Why do rich people decorate their houses with haunted faces?" she questioned aloud, determined to locate the kitchen despite her fears. But soon she realized she was lost again. "This house was designed by villains," she muttered, half joking, but half terrified. It was a truth she didn't quite want to accept. As she wandered deeper into the mansion's hidden corners, a soft glow caught her attention. It emanated from beneath an old wooden door, tucked away in a corridor she had never encountered before. Intrigued and a little frightened, Lily approached it, her heart pounding in her chest. The door looked different, older, dustier, as if it were a remnant of a bygone era. "This is definitely where ghosts live," she whispered to herself. But curiosity beckoned her, and she turned the handle. The door creaked open, revealing a dim room, lit only by a single lamp in the corner. Stepping inside, she felt a chill creep over her skin as her eyes adjusted to the darkness. The walls were adorned with photographs, hundreds of them, chronicling the Beaumont family's history. Lily's breath caught in her throat. The room felt untouched by time, like an attic full of memories no one dared to explore. As she ventured further, she saw a younger Madame Beaumont, Grandpa Beaumont smiling wider than she remembered, and a little girl who looked an awful lot like Vanessa. But it was the reflections in some of those photographs that drew her in. The discomfort etched on Vanessa's face, a silent plea of someone who never quite belonged. Then she spotted another photo, half hidden by dust. As she lifted it, her heart raced with recognition. It depicted a small girl with messy hair and bright eyes, gleefully holding noodles next to Grandpa Beaumont. "That's me," she whispered, disbelief washing over her. Behind her, a soft voice replied, "Yes." Lily nearly jumped out of her skin, turning around to see Grandpa Beaumont standing in the doorway, holding a warm cup of tea. Unlike his usual playful demeanor, he appeared vulnerable, his eyes glistening with unspoken emotions. "How?" Lily stammered, her pulse quickening. "I found you once," he said, his voice thick with nostalgia. Silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the soft patter of rain. 20 years ago, after the hospital incident, he had suspected something was amiss. The child brought home didn't feel like his granddaughter. He hesitated, the weight of years etched on his face. Not the doctors, not the family, not even myself eventually. Lily's heart ached. No one had ever searched for her before, not like this. The realization that someone had cared, had sought her out, filled her with an intense longing she couldn't comprehend. As Grandpa Beaumont spoke of the past, Lily noticed another photograph peeking from beneath a stack of papers. Curiosity piqued, she picked it up and her breath hitched. It held a picture of a young woman cradling two newborns in a hospital room, one with a pink bracelet, the other blue. Standing beside her was Vanessa's mother. "Who took this picture?" Lily asked, her voice trembling. Grandpa Beaumont's expression darkened. "That is the question I've been trying to answer for 20 years. Lightning cracked outside, and the room seemed to grow colder. Lily examined the back of the photograph and froze. The words written sent chills down her spine. "One child will live like a queen." Her stomach dropped as gravity settled over the revelation. Grandpa Beaumont took the photo from her, his expression resolute. This was not an accident. The words hung heavily in the air, suffocating in their implication. Someone had intentionally switched the babies. Outside the door, Vanessa, who had silently followed her, felt her heart drop. She had seen enough. The photograph contained a truth that could shatter lives, a secret that would bring everything crashing down. Her breathing quickened. For the first time, this was no longer a rivalry. It was dangerous. Lily, still in shock, gazed at the haunting photograph, her mind racing. So, my entire life changed because someone decided it should? Grandpa Beaumont's sadness mirrored her own. Lily chuckled, but it came out as a broken laugh. That's such a strange sentence. The hidden room pulsed with the weight of lost memories. An entire family history she never knew existed, but somehow belonged to. Loneliness enveloped her as she realized she had been robbed of a life. Grandpa Beaumont placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You don't need to figure everything out tonight." But Lily barely heard him. Her eyes were fixed on the hidden message behind the photograph, the echo of the past reverberating in her heart. "One child will live like a queen." In that moment, she understood that what had been stolen from her was far more than just a life. It was a lifetime of belonging, of knowing who she truly was. Chapter 11. Alexander Can't Stop Smiling. The next morning, the Beaumont mansion loomed with an unsettling silence. It felt wrong, like the air itself held its breath, and the shadows cast by the grand chandeliers seemed to whisper secrets. Lily Carter moved cautiously through the marble hallways, her footsteps echoing against the polished surface, her heart heavy with a knowledge that had shifted everything. The giant portraits lining the walls, once merely decorative, now stared down at her like old friends turned foes, their gazes piercing through the facade of luxury and grandeur. This house, this mansion could have been her home, but the thought was both a balm and a thorn, filling her with a strange mix of longing and resentment. As she finally entered the dining hall, the familiar routine of breakfast felt like an intrusion. Grandpa Beaumont sat at the head of the table, his nose buried in the newspapers, while Madame Beaumont analyzed business documents with a hawk-like intensity. Vanessa sipped her tea, avoiding eye contact like it was a game. But it was Alexander Reed who caught Lily's attention, his eyes locking onto hers, as if he had been waiting for her arrival. There was a spark of something, anticipation, that made her heart race. Grandpa Beaumont, ever the observer, noticed the connection. "Well, well," he said with a hint of mischief. Someone finally woke up. Lily slumped into her chair, exhaustion heavy on her shoulders. "I spent the night discovering emotional family crimes," she replied, sarcasm lacing her words. Mia leaned in conspiratorially. "You missed breakfast chaos." Confusion flickered across Lily's face. "Breakfast chaos?" Mia pointed dramatically at Alexander. He smiled at his coffee. A profound silence engulfed the room. Alexander lowered his cup slowly, his brow furrowing. "What?" Grandpa Beaumont's expression morphed into one of mock indignation. "You did." Madame Beaumont nodded, her lips pressed together as if holding back laughter. Vanessa froze, her gaze darting between them as Lily, bewildered, exclaimed, "Wait, smiling is illegal for him?" "Emotionally rare," Mia whispered, and Alexander sighed, a weary sound like a billionaire babysitting unruly children. "You're all exaggerating." "No," Grandpa countered swiftly. "Last year you looked happier signing hostile takeover documents." Lily's laughter bubbled up unexpectedly, cutting through the tension, and then, miraculously, Alexander smiled again. It was subtle, yet unmistakable. The room went rigid, as if the air had turned electric. Mia dropped her spoon, and Vanessa's grip on her teacup tightened as Grandpa Beaumont's eyes sparkled with delight. Lily simply stared, awestruck. "Oh my God." But just as quickly, Alexander's expression reverted to his usual stone-cold demeanor. "That never happened," he declared, yet the air still buzzed with the remnants of his smile. As the morning unfolded, Alexander settled into his office, determined to work. Yet his thoughts betrayed him, derailing his concentration with memories of Lily. The way she tumbled into the fountain, her spirited debates with the coffee machine, the sight of her enjoying noodles on the rooftop, and the haunting glimpse of her sadness in the secret room. Annoyance flickered across his face, but not toward her. Toward the fact that she occupied his mind relentlessly. Daniel, his assistant, entered with documents but paused, sensing the tension. "Sir? You look distracted." Alexander glanced up, the coldness in his gaze masking the turmoil within. "I'm working." "But you've been staring at the same page for 12 minutes, Daniel noted, and silence hung between them. With a deep breath, Alexander closed the folder. "Cancel my afternoon meeting. I need fresh air." The command shocked Daniel, who had never witnessed such a rupture in Alexander's immaculate schedule. Meanwhile, Lily sat on the living room floor, surrounded by luxury shopping bags, a casualty of Madame Beaumont's desire for transformation. Stylists flitted around her, presenting dresses as if they were rare artifacts, but she felt like a prisoner in elegant chains. "Why do rich dresses have fewer survival pockets?" she lamented, half joking, while the stylists chuckled nervously. Vanessa observed the scene, feeling a strange twinge of empathy for Lily. In a previous time, she would have reveled in her discomfort. But now, the weight of her family's secrets gnawed at her. She couldn't shake the looming realization. One child would live like a queen, and it wouldn't be her. Would Lily have been happier here? The thought gnawed at her, twisting her insides. A stylist held up a soft blue dress, declaring it perfect, but Lily frowned. "It looks expensive." "Because it is," came the reply. "That feels threatening," Lily muttered, earning soft laughter from the room. Just then the front doors swung open, and Alexander stepped into view. Despite the bustling employees around him, his gaze found Lily instantly, sitting on the floor, immersed in her chaos. A soft smile tugged at his lips, surprising even him. Daniel, still trailing behind, looked horrified. "Oh no, you're doing it again." Mia caught wind of this and shouted, "He smiled again?" Lily's eyes darted up, and Alexander's expression hardened, a veneer of indifference sliding back into place. but Grandpa Beaumont, ever the matchmaker, appeared with an amused glint in his eyes. Lily narrowed her gaze at Alexander, suspicion lacing her voice. "Are you broken?" "No," he replied coolly. "You keep smiling at weird things." "You are usually the weird thing," he shot back, his calmness masking the tremor of his own heart. Mia leaned in conspiratorially, whispering, "Oh, they're flirting." "We are not," Lily interjected, flustered. In response, Alexander adjusted his cufflinks. "Agreed, but statistically, you do cause unusual emotional responses." The room fell into a stunned silence, and Lily's breath caught, realizing he might have just strayed too close to an emotional admission. Suddenly he turned and walked away, a hint of awkwardness lingering in the air. Upstairs, Alexander paused in the hallway, his chest tight with unfamiliar feelings. For years, he had cloaked himself in emotional coldness. But Lily had shattered that, and to his dismay he found himself looking forward to seeing her again tomorrow. And that person, that unexpected breath of fresh air, was Lily Carter. In the opulent dining hall of the Beaumont mansion, the morning sun streamed through gilded windows, illuminating the lavishly set table where Lily Carter sat, her heart racing as she stared at her phone. It was 3 days since the internet had erupted over a slow-motion video of Alexander Reed gazing at her, the romantic music weaving through the air like a spell. As the views climbed to 20 million overnight, panic curled in her stomach. "They edited sparkles around us," she exclaimed, her voice trembling. Mia, her best friend, nearly fell out of her chair, laughter spilling from her lips. "This is cinema," she cried. "This is defamation," Lily shot back, her indignation palpable. Across the table, Grandpa Beaumont adjusted his glasses, a glint of pride in his eyes as he spoke. "The comments are very supportive." Lily pointed dramatically at her phone, the weight of the world's gaze pressing down upon her. "People are calling us the rooftop ramen couple." It was catchy, yes, but it felt like a noose tightening around her neck. "It's humiliating." Her eyes darted to Alexander, who remained annoyingly unruffled, sipping his coffee as if the chaos surrounding them was a mere whisper in the wind. "Why are you so calm?" she demanded, her frustration boiling over. Alexander, with his dark hair and piercing gaze, raised an eyebrow and replied, "The internet becomes bored quickly." Mia's indignation flared. "No, you two are feeding the delusion accidentally." With every passing moment, the narrative surrounding them morphed into something neither had consented to. Headlines, discussions, and business articles spun a web that entangled them together. And the worst part was Alexander's nonchalant attitude about it all. The tension in the air thickened when Madame Beaumont summoned everyone to the main conference room. Lily's heart sank. "Why do rich families always gather in rooms that look like hostage negotiations?" she murmured, sensing the impending doom. The PR executives stood beside giant screens, their faces steeling into professionalism. "We have analyzed current public opinion trends," one began, and Lily whispered to Mia, "That sentence already sounds expensive." A massive graph appeared, labeled "Public Interest in Alexander Reed and Lily Carter." Her eyes widened as headlines flashed before her. "The Billionaire and the Chaotic Heiress. Saul's favorite unexpected couple. Is this real love?" "I need emotional compensation," she groaned, grasping her forehead. The executives, undeterred, informed them that public engagement around their supposed relationship had increased Beaumont Group's popularity by 32%. But all Lily could focus on was the suffocating grip of expectation tightening around her. It was then that Madame Beaumont made her proposition, her voice steady and calm. "You two will begin publicly dating." The words hung in the air, a heavy silence enveloping the room as Lily's world spun. "Me? Him?" she exclaimed, her shock breaking through the facade of control she maintained. Alexander raised an eyebrow, surprise flickering in his normally stoic demeanor. "The public already believes the relationship exists," Madame Beaumont continued, her gaze piercing. "A controlled narrative benefits both families." Lily felt her heart racing, a mix of fury and fear flooding her veins. "You want us to fake date for business? That sounds emotionally criminal." Alexander simply leaned back, his calm demeanor infuriating her further. "No," he replied, the room holding its breath. But as the discussion unfolded, the urgency of the situation became clear. Lily's protests were met with the cold reality of the family's interests. Why am I being sacrificed to capitalism? She shouted, her voice echoing in the opulent room. Weeks of tension culminated in her delicate balance of emotions. Meanwhile, Vanessa stood silently, her heart twisting with a complex mix of envy and worry. She watched Alexander with Lily, noticing the subtle glances and the way he seemed to protect her with effortless grace. Each moment between them felt charged, and she couldn't help but feel threatened. As meetings progressed, they found themselves increasingly alone, and amidst the chaos of their lives, Lily and Alexander began to walk through the mansion's expansive garden beneath the soft afternoon sun. The world faded away, leaving just the two of them. This is insane. Lily kicked a pebble away, her frustration dissipating slightly in the tranquility of the moment. You're agreeing too calmly, she noted, and Alexander met her gaze, his expression inscrutable. I didn't agree. Yet, he replied, and her heart skipped a beat. Lily's mind raced as she processed his words. The scandal surrounding the Beaumont family was spiraling, and this arrangement felt like a lifeline. But the notion of fake dating him, a man she barely knew but instinctively trusted, felt daunting. But fake dating someone like you sounds exhausting, she finally admitted, and his eyebrow arched in amusement. Someone like me? His tone was teasing, yet serious. You're emotionally unavailable, she countered, and for a moment, the air crackled between them as silence enveloped them. Then, surprisingly, he nodded in agreement. Correct, but I wouldn't mistreat you. Her heart warmed unexpectedly at his sincerity. Those simple words felt more real, more trustworthy than grand declarations of love. And that realization terrified her. Back in the mansion, Vanessa watched from a distance, her grip tightening on the balcony railing as she observed them together. Lately, they were always together, their chemistry undeniable. Deep down, she recognized the painful truth. This fake relationship everyone discussed so casually could easily become something real. In the heart of an opulent mansion, the garden was cloaked in an unsettling silence, thick as fog. As the sun dipped below the horizon, vibrant colors bled into the sky, but the atmosphere felt weighty, as if the very air was holding its breath, waiting for Lily to respond to Alexander's calm, yet damning words. She stared at him, her heart racing, a faint quiver in her voice when she said, "You can't say things like that so calmly." Alexander tilted his head, curiosity flickering in his sharp features, his gaze unwavering. "Which part?" he asked, his tone as detached as if drafting a company policy. Lily gestured uncertainly, as if trying to encapsulate his very essence. "The I wouldn't mistreat you part. That sounds illegal in a fake relationship conversation." He maintained his composed demeanor. "It's a basic standard," he replied, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly at her dramatics. "Not in billionaire dramas," she muttered under her breath, feeling the boundaries of their arrangement begin to blur. The silence stretched again, heavy and taut, before he continued with a practicality that felt almost clinical. "If we proceed, there will be rules," he declared, his gaze firm, as if laying down the law of a corporate venture. Lily narrowed her eyes. "Of course there will. Rule 1. We maintain consistency in public appearances." Her lips curled into a sardonic smile. "So, holding hands, smiling, pretending we're not suffering?" "Yes," he replied, his tone deadpan. "Romance is truly dead," she sighed dramatically, an exaggerated gesture that masked the tingling anticipation in her chest. "Rule 2. No unnecessary personal exposure," he continued, ignoring her lament. "Meaning?" Lily asked, a hint of wariness creeping into her voice. "No fabricated stories about intimacy," he stated, and her heart froze, a blush creeping up her cheeks. She pointed at him again. "I wasn't even thinking that, and now I hate that you said it out loud." In the midst of their banter, he added a final rule. "If either party wishes to terminate early, there will be no penalties." That one made her pause, her mind racing. She studied him, the silence thickening again. "You added that one yourself, didn't you?" His response was curt. "Yes." Lily squinted, her skepticism evident, suspiciously considerate for someone emotionally unavailable. His retort was swift, a challenge. "I'm not emotionally unavailable." She raised an eyebrow, a bead of silence hanging between them. "I am selectively engaged," he added, a smirk playing at his lips. "That sounds worse," she quipped. and just as the tension shifted, up on the balcony, Vanessa retreated from view, overwhelmed by the suffocating undercurrents of their conversation. Inside the mansion, the atmosphere transformed as the PR team unleashed chaos, slides filled with calculated strategies projected on the screens like a war room. "This is not fake dating, this is a hostile merger," Mia whispered to Lily, who shot back, "I want to be acquired out of existence." Grandpa Beaumont leaned back, delight glinting in his eyes. "This is the most stable relationship you've ever had." Lily snapped, "I've had no relationships." "Exactly," he beamed, proud of his granddaughter's solitude. Madame Beaumont pushed a document forward, her demeanor businesslike. "Sign here." Lily eyed the paper warily, then glanced at Alexander, whose expression remained unreadable. "This feels like selling my soul," she muttered, and Madame Beaumont corrected, "It is a partnership agreement." "Same font," Lily replied, sarcasm lacing her words. With a single decisive motion, Alexander scanned the document, and without hesitation, signed it, the pen clicking softly against the polished table. Lily's brain lagged, her mind racing. "You just agreed for both of us." "I signed my portion," he clarified, unfazed. "You didn't even negotiate," she protested. "I did," he insisted, his gaze steady. "When?" she challenged. "Before you noticed." Sinking into her chair, she felt the reality of her situation crashing down. "I'm surrounded by professionals and I'm the only amateur here." Mia offered her a reassuring pat. "Welcome to capitalism." That evening the world shifted again when the first official announcement broke like thunder across the internet. Beaumont Group confirms public relationship strategy between Heiress Lily Carter and CEO Alexander Reed. The digital realm erupted. Lily read the headline thrice, each time feeling the weight of public scrutiny pressed down upon her. "I hate that they use the word strategy," she groaned, her phone vibrating incessantly with notifications from unfamiliar numbers. Mia leaned closer, her eyes wide. "You're trending worldwide again." Lily rolled her eyes. "I want refunds for my life choices." Across the hallway, Alexander stood by a window, his expression immovable as he read the same proclamation. His thumb lingered on the screen longer than necessary, but his demeanor was detached, a fortress against the chaos that surrounded them. Later that night, seeking refuge from the storm, Lily found him in the mansion's expansive library. It was serene yet suffocatingly quiet, a stark contrast to the turmoil outside. He looked up, a hint of amusement in his gaze. "You're avoiding sleep," he noted, a dry observation that made her bristle. "You're avoiding personality," she shot back, her defenses rising. For a fleeting moment, the tension shifted. "Fair," he conceded, closing the book in front of him. Lily stepped forward, arms crossed defensively. "I have a question," she began, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. "Ask," he prompted. "If this fake dating thing becomes unbearable, we can stop, right?" "Yes," he answered simply, the certainty in his voice grounding her. "No consequences?" "No consequences." She scrutinized him, feeling the weight of their arrangement settle between them. He closed his eyes for a moment, contemplating her question. "That depends," he replied. "On what?" she pressed, a spark of curiosity igniting within her. He met her gaze, holding it longer than usual. "On how much damage control is required." "That sounds cold," she said, her heart racing in a way that both thrilled and terrified her. "It is practical," he replied, the tone of his voice almost soothing. A silence enveloped them, heavy with unspoken words. Then softer he added, "And practicality keeps people safe." Lily's expression shifted, her defenses wavering. She looked away first, her heart betraying her. "You really are emotionally allergic, huh?" "I prefer efficient," he replied, almost teasingly. Sighing, she sank into the chair opposite him, a mix of frustration and admiration filling her. "Fine, but I'm adding one rule." He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "No falling in love," she declared, her voice firm, though doubt lingered in the air. Silence enveloped the library, thick and palpable. Alexander's gaze remained locked on her, unyielding. "That should not be difficult," he said, his tone steady. Lily blinked, caught off guard. "Rude," she retorted, a flash of indignation flickering across her face. "It's realistic," he countered, and frustration boiled over as she stood abruptly. "You're impossible." As she turned to leave, he called out to her, his voice calm, yet it resonated with something deeper. "Lily." She paused, tension crackling in the air. What? In that moment, the library felt too quiet, the weight of their unspooled emotions pressing in around them. "If this stops being fake," he said, his voice steady, "we will address it." Her heart skipped, a disturbing flutter that she despised. "Don't worry, I'm very good at noticing when things are fake," she replied, masking her vulnerability with bravado as she left the room. Behind her, Alexander remained still, a shadow of contemplation lingering in the air. And, for the first time since this whirlwind began, he didn't immediately return to his book. In the opulent halls of the Beaumont mansion, the atmosphere buzzed with an electrifying tension as Lily stood before the ornate mirror, poised like a soldier preparing for battle. The glow of the chandelier bathed her in golden light, yet instead of feeling radiant, she felt like a fragile artifact, too precious to touch. "This dress is too expensive," she remarked flatly, her voice echoing in the silence. "Yes," Mia replied, her fingers deftly adjusting the hem behind Lily. "I feel like I should be taxed for wearing it," Lily added, her anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. Mia smirked without glancing up. "You are being taxed, emotionally." The air thickened with an unspoken expectation as Grandpa Beaumont poked his head in, admiration sparkling in his eyes. "She looks like a successful villainess," he declared. Lily groaned. "I don't want to be a villainess." "Too late," he shot back, a proud smile on his lips as he walked away, leaving Lily grappling with her reflection, which seemed to mock her with its perfection. Descending the grand staircase, the rhythmic sound of her heels echoed like a countdown. As she reached the bottom, the room fell silent. An almost unnatural hush enveloped everyone present. "Why is everyone staring like I'm a historical artifact?" Lily whispered to Mia, who stood nearby, wide-eyed. "Because you look like one," Mia quipped, glancing at her. "Excuse me?" Lily shot back. But soon her gaze shifted to Alexander, who stood at the foot of the stairs, looking unbothered by the whirlwind of attention. In that moment her heart skipped. He was the calm amidst her storm. "You're late," he noted, his voice a low rumble, a steady anchor in her swirling sea of nerves. "I was being emotionally prepared," she replied, a hint of defiance in her tone. "Reasonable," he stated, and the corners of her mouth almost betrayed her with a smile. As they stepped into the waiting car, the weight of the evening settled around them. The gala venue loomed ahead, a palace of glimmering crystal chandeliers and hungry cameras. "Why does it feel like I'm walking into a lion enclosure?" she whispered, her heart racing. "Because you are," Alexander replied, his calm demeanor contrasting starkly with her rising dread. The moment they emerged from the car, flashes erupted like fireworks, reporters clamoring for their attention. "Miss Carter, is this a real relationship? Mr. Reed, are you official?" Lily froze, her confidence crumbling into a pile of shattered nerves. Alexander subtly shifted closer, forming an invisible barrier around her. "Walk," he commanded softly. "I hate you," she hissed back. But the truth was, his proximity soothed her chaos just enough to keep her moving. Inside, the atmosphere thickened further, a suffocating blend of perfume and pretense. As they navigated the sea of scrutinizing eyes, they reached a sanctuary, a circle formed by Beaumont Group executives, offering a semblance of safety. Mia mouthed to Lily, "You're trending again." Lily's response was a silent, pained grimace. "I want to die professionally." Then came the speeches, orchestrated with all the charm of a business presentation. Madame Beaumont introduced them, her voice smooth yet calculated. Lily leaned toward Alexander, whispering, "Cooperation? We are people, not mergers." "You are both," he corrected, his words layering on a bizarre heaviness. The moment for photos arrived, and the pressure mounted. Cameras snapped, and a persistent command to get closer forced Lily to stiffen, but Alexander remained unfazed. It was then that he placed his hand near hers, not gripping, not pulling, but just there, a silent invitation. She hesitated, her heartbeat thrumming wildly. Then, barely perceptible, they connected. The warmth spread through her, intensifying as the cameras captured every fleeting moment. Whispers ignited in the crowd. "Look at them." Across the room, Vanessa stood still, her silence louder than any applause. She noticed everything, the way Alexander's attention was solely on Lily, and how Lily, despite her complaints, never made the first move to pull away. Later, When they found a moment's respite on a balcony overlooking the twinkling city lights, Lily let out a sharp breath. "I survived," she stated, relief washing over her. "You did well," Alexander said, a hint of something soft in his tone. Lily turned to him, skepticism etched on her face. "That sounded like praise. Are you malfunctioning?" "No," he replied simply. "Suspicious," she muttered, glancing sideways at him. After a moment of silence, he finally added, "You adjusted quickly." "I adapt to chaos," she shrugged, deflecting. He looked out at the city, his gaze thoughtful. "That is required." "For what?" she pressed, an unsettling curiosity gnawing at her. "To remain controlled," he said slowly, choosing his words like delicate glass. "And stable." Her heart thudded in her chest at the last word, unsettling her. Stable. Not romantic, not dramatic, just stable. It hung between them like a promise or a threat, and as she pondered its implications, she couldn't shake the feeling that it might be the most dangerous thing of all that night. In the dim glow of the Beaumont mansion, the evening had settled into a thick silence, one that felt heavier than the usual calm. Lily, her heels clattering against the marble floor as she kicked them off with a flourish, sighed dramatically. "I hate formal events," her voice echoing into the void of her opulent room. No one responded, save for Mia, lounging on her bed, glued to her phone. "You say that every time you attend one," she quipped, not looking up. "That's because they keep existing," Lily retorted, frustration bubbling in her chest. A light hum escaped Mia, followed by a teasing jab. "You also kept holding hands at one." Lily froze, caught off guard. That was strategic. She felt her cheeks warm, and in a flash of playful irritation, she tossed a pillow at Mia, who caught it effortlessly. "That's character development," Mia teased further, the corners of her lips curling into a smirk. "It's stress," Lily declared, flopping onto her bed, allowing the soft fabric to cradle her as she tried to escape the reality of the gala that still lingered in her mind. Specifically the word stable, that echoed quietly yet persistently. Meanwhile, across the mansion, in the shadowy recesses of the study, Alexander stood alone, surrounded by meticulous documents, photos, press summaries, and sentiment reports, all aligned perfectly. Yet his gaze lingered on a single image, longer than the rest, a photo of Lily, not smiling brightly or performing flawlessly, but simply existing under the harsh camera lights, a mask of indifference barely concealing her discomfort. Outside, Vanessa found herself on the balcony once more, her gaze scanning the sprawling city, a vast canvas of flickering lights that seemed to offer no solace. The cool evening breeze brushed against her skin as a staff member approached, breaking her reverie. "Miss Vanessa, should I prepare tea?" "No," she replied softly, the word hanging in the air like an unspoken truth. "Are you all right?" the staff member asked, hesitating as if sensing the weight of her silence. Vanessa paused, reflecting on the way Alexander had stood just a fraction closer to Lily that night, his movements unforced, devoid of any semblance of performance. The dawn of a new day arrived too soon, bringing urgency with it. Mia burst into Lily's room, brandishing her phone like a volatile device. "Wake up!" Lily groaned, burying her face in her pillow. "I don't believe in mornings," she mumbled. "You need to believe in this one," Mia insisted, an edge of panic tinging her voice. Reluctantly, Lily sat up, the sunlight cutting through the curtains and illuminating the chaos of her thoughts. Mia turned the phone towards her, revealing a shocking headline that made Lily's heart race. Breaking: Beaumont Heiress and Reed CEOs spotted leaving together after private dinner. Lily blinked, disbelief washing over her. "We didn't have a private dinner." Mia nodded, her face serious. "I know." But she swiped to another image, one that showed Alexander holding a car door open for her, their proximity alarmingly intimate. Lily collapsed back onto her bed in defeat. "I'm being framed by professionalism." Chaos erupted within the mansion as PR executives scrambled around, analyzing the unexpected publicity. "This is positive publicity," one executive asserted, while another countered, "It's escalating too fast." Grandpa Beaumont watched the frenzy with delight, as if witnessing a thrilling show. "This is better than television," he laughed. Lily's voice cut through the clamor. "It is not better than my sanity." Madame Beaumont remained composed, her calm voice cutting through the noise. This strengthens the narrative. Lily shot her a sharp look. Why do you speak like I'm a stock option? You are a strategic asset, she replied coolly. Lily turned to Alexander, who had been reviewing the same reports. Do you hear them? He glanced up, unfazed. Yes. And? It is predictable. That's it? She pressed, incredulous. It does not require immediate correction, he stated, his calm exterior unnerving her. You're getting used to this, she whispered. The afternoon found Lily intercepting Alexander in the hallway, away from prying eyes. You need to stop doing that, she insisted. Doing what? He asked, his brow furrowing in confusion. Treating this like it's normal. His response was immediate. It is becoming normal. That's the problem, she snapped back, frustration flaring. He studied her with an intensity that made her heart race. You are uncomfortable, he observed. Lily hesitated, the weight of her feelings pressing down on her. Yes. Then Alexander surprised her. Then we adjust. Her eyes widened. You're making it sound easy. It should be, he replied, but their glances held unspoken tension. But it isn't, she countered. Silence enveloped them, heavy and thick, until he finally spoke again. Do you want distance increased? Lily hesitated, the question seeming to loom larger than herself. I don't know. That uncertainty hung in the air, palpable and raw. Alexander regarded her longer than usual, then nodded. Then we maintain current parameters. Lily frowned. Parameters? Yes. With an exasperated groan she replied, You really are a corporate villain. Only professionally, he said with a hint of amusement, almost drawing a laugh from her. But before she could respond, footsteps echoed from behind them. Vanessa stood at the end of the hallway, her expression ironclad, a quiet certainty shifting the air around them. I need to speak with you, she said softly, her eyes fixed on Alexander, but meant for both of them. In that moment, the space between them felt constricted, the walls closing in, echoing with unspoken truths and unresolved feelings. It was a confrontation long overdue, and the air crackled with the tension of unaddressed emotions, leaving Lily to wonder how it would all unfold.